welcome everybody. Today, we're honored to have with us Dr. Hoda Al-Khazaimi. She is a distinguished leader in cryptology, cybersecurity, and STEM advocacy. As the director of the Center of Cybersecurity and the Associate Vice Provost for Research, Translation, and Innovation at the New York University, Abu Dhabi, she is also the founder director of the Emerging Advanced Research Acceleration for Technologies, Security, and Cryptology. Dr. Hoda's expertise and passion for empowering women in technology have made her a trailblazer in her field. With a PhD in cryptanalytics and a commitment to building inclusive community, Dr. Hoda's insights are absolutely important to us as we present this segment where we are speaking about Invest in Women Accelerate Progress. Today, through this interview, we're going to delve into her personal journey and uncover her vision for a more equitable future. Thank you very much, Dr. Hoda, for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Kanchi. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you and the audience today.
So I'm going to take this and dive into the first question right itself. And I'd like to begin with personal inspiration. Could you share a pivotal moment or influence from your personal life that has actually shaped your commitment to advocating for women's empowerment and, of course, provide equitable access to opportunities for everybody?
I think, Kanchi, the pivotal moment for me is when I got the realization that we don't equally, as women in different ecosystems, have an equal representation in specific niche fields. I mean, STEM is one of them, STEAM is one of them, of course, but also women on boards, women in economics, women in specific niche spaces. Women tend to be the support system for a line of business or a line of professional organization because it's a necessity to the business. But when it comes to the representation of women in the key decision making process, it's not always a granted seat, I would say, although the efficacy exists. I would say they deserve to be on that kind of seat, but they don't get the seat. And to me, it was always a question of why. And I saw it in a clearer lenses, not when I was in UAE, because in UAE, I was considered the majority of representation. When I was going through different kind of life cycles of responsibilities throughout my life. However, when I started working on international scene, I was wondering why the representation of women is going slimmer on an international scenes. In France, for example, for STEM, I would see the numbers hitting in some cases below 12%. And then when I was in Denmark, I was in the 2%. And then when I was in other communities and societies, sometimes it would go to 20%, sometimes it would get lower. When I came from UAE, I was amidst the 50% representation. So a pivotal inspirational moment for me was the fact that it's not a problem of high GDP countries, low GDP countries being equally, opening opportunity doors for women. But it's about making sure that we have an equal representation, regardless of the narrative that we exist in order to have a meaningful, purposeful kind of contribution into the society, into the decision-making cycle at large as well. So I don't like the term women empowerment, honestly speaking, because it has this kind of maybe underlying assumption that women would need a bit of a push because they're not good enough, not ready enough. I've heard all of those kind of excuses being put into the table. not good enough, not ready enough. They would need much more mentoring. They would need much more access to opportunity later on. Their priorities are not set into the right direction. So to me, the empowerment part is something that we should let go of, because they are empowered, but maybe we should give them access to executing their roles equally as we're giving someone else's the access with the resources that would enable them to succeed.
That's quite brilliant, and I totally concur with that assertion. And some of those percentages that you outlined are staggering and quite eye-opening to a lot of people who would not know about the kind of differences that exist in different cultures. So thank you for shedding light on that. From there on, Dr. Hoda, throughout your career, I'd like to understand who have been the most influential figures that have supported and encouraged your professional growth, and how has their mentorship or perhaps guidance influenced your views on the importance of women having a seat at the table?
I think actually throughout my career life, I grew up to appreciate reflection into the situation, into people. So to me, mentorship and championship have different roles. And in my life, I tend to appreciate more people who are actively involved in supporting others, rather than people who are like maybe there because they want to guide you and they want to advise you, and they take over the passive role than the active role. So I try to stay away from glorifying the term mentor, and maybe work onto the other terms that might be necessary in the situation, especially if we are dealing with quite necessary and critical situation that we need to resolve. That being said, I was lucky enough in my life to be faced or being placed into situation that showed me the importance of active investment in a specific minority group if I want to change the results and the outcomes for the favorable outcome of the organization and the best interest of how we can place the opportunity on the table and navigate across different maybe not very well balanced power situation within different industries. So again, answering your question, I don't want to commit to a specific name or a specific figure. There are few people in my life that were very influential, so it wouldn't be fair to place the recognition in one person's hand. So to me, first, it would be maybe at the beginning of my career, I would say my personal kind of life, it's my grandma, my family, as well as in my outer kind of space. I am from UAE. I think I stand to gain a lot from the opportunities that were paved by Sheikh Zayed. He's the former founder of the country. God bless his soul. He's not with us anymore. And by the other champions that equally championed the role of women in UAE society. One of them is the First Lady, Her Highness Sheikha Fatima bint Mubarak. I mean, since the beginning of our kind of immersion into professional life or even student life in UAE when I was a student back in the days, we've received a wealth of opportunities, scholarships, access to international programming because of the advocacy that they do on the ground and to opening doors for women through education, through knowledge, which is very important to me. Down the line, I think I was as well very much supported when I was at the cusp of taking my PhD, and I was like in between, not trying to pick out a career versus an education. I was supported by my CEO, he's not here anymore, Mr. Al-Mansouri. He supported me tremendously in giving me this kind of unbounded access to being in a space that has a professional capacity within the company, within the investment fund I was working for, and at the same time pushing me towards, okay, you can also do your PhD at a specific aspect of a line of business as well. It's not sometimes the big kind of gestures, it's also the small gestures, the gesture of saying, yes, I would make sure that you have access to opportunity, maybe not by giving you the investment, the financial investment itself, but by giving you the time allowance, the flexibility on the job to pick a project or to be able to be in two spaces at once. This is also a very influencing moment to me, and empowering your pathway, or in giving you a chance to do more within your career pathway than what you are seeing in a job description most of the time.
It's absolutely eye-opening at certain fronts, Dr. Hoda, especially how you drew that thin line between mentors and champions for a cause. And that actually leads me on to my next question. As a leader in your field, you've sort of been a champion for diversity and inclusion, particularly for women in STEM. What personal experiences or observations have actually led you on to become such a vocal advocate for diversity? And why do you think it's crucial for people, for families, for organizations, and of course nations at large to actually invest in a women's potential?
Okay, so I have different experiences that led me to know that we need sometimes to put in pathways when we exist in ecosystems for people to succeed. It's very easy for us to come in May or April and start doing this kind of, as decision makers and leaders of different teams, to come in May and say, or in April and say, okay, this is the performance kind of attribution of my team, and this is where I want them to be with it, this is where I want them to go. But the hardest part is for us to see the potential in the room, because the potentials in the room are sometimes an extension of the future selves of those people who are existing around the table. It's not their resumes, it's not their biographies, sometimes it's not even their it's not mentioned in their academic credentials or professional credentials. It's in the hidden conversations that you should take with each and every one of them to understand how can we build synergies in between what they're putting in the table today and what their future self is being able to bring into the table, and maybe opening pathways, bringing opportunities that don't exist for them, that are aligned maybe with the work you're doing and also with the potentials of their growth. It gives me tremendous amount of pleasure to see someone who I work with on any capacity, either in my professional capacity at work in my current role, or even in my non-for-profit roles that I'm doing, to see them grow and over, I would say, 50% into something that's totally transformative, totally life-changing, not only for them, but also for the line of work that exists within the market that they're trying to serve. And that is attached as well to purpose, to impact, to humanity life impact as well. So I think these experiences, the minute I see things working on that front, it gives me this kind of internal fuel to do more, achieve more, make sure that people are actually having less hurdles, less obstacles down the line. And maybe our roles in our whatever positions we have is to remove these hurdles and remove these obstacles from their pathways, and to give them access to acceleration, I would say. I always say, whatever took me maybe 10 years to accomplish, I want others to accomplish within a day, because I want to see what would be the potential of impact if someone have that kind of abundance of access to resources, would be for the next generation. I don't want to say the next generation, but for the next person down the line, or for my fellows or my colleagues or all the people that are surrounding me in general.
Actually quite commendable, Dr. Hoda, and the kind of motivation that you personally have and the time and resources that you invest towards the initiatives that you take up in hand are actually speak and underscore the kind of impact that you are hoping to have on future generations for women in STEAM. Thank you for outlining it so brilliantly.
Inshallah. Thank you, Kanchi. I would say hopefully.
Inshallah, actually. And
Yeah.
finally, and as a parting question, what is that one piece of advice that you would want to give young women or women who aspire to have careers in STEAM or other male dominated fields that exist, uh, based on your experiences? What is it that they should do to make their place and make their place in the room and their potential felt?
I would say invest in breaking barriers within you and within the ecosystem. Invest in learning how to be as agile as possible as well, regardless of how many challenges you are facing or underestimations down the line. Be unstoppable. Jump from one setback to another if you can. Enjoy those setbacks because they're learning lessons. Don't allow them to break your spirit. It's not easy to exercise, I would say, on the real environment, because you want to succeed and you want that kind of achievement, satisfaction to be there on the table as well for you to go for the longer mile. But I would say always associate yourself with a powerful support group that you choose. Choose your wise kind of voices of reason around you. Get them to be there to tell you when things are hard, how possible things are. Support vulnerable groups. Support people who have limitations across the map, and remove barriers for them, because then you would see how would this as well be impactful for you, not just for others. And as well, support and invest in building inclusivity in societies and communities if you can. Flow like water is one of the metaphors that I always use when I talk to people. Like, learn from water. It's unstoppable, it's gentle, it's vulnerable as well, but at the same time it's so strong that it can break across rocks and in the mountains. So we need to be persistent in a way that is meaningful for us, and always be tied to impact and to purpose.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much, Dr. Hoda. I'm actually inspired by your words and your unwavering dedication, insights to the importance of investing in women, both professionally and personally, remind us of how transformative the impact can be when inclusivity and diversity become the main fabric of the society. Thank you very much, Dr. Hoda, for having this conversation with me.
Thank you, Kanchi, and for your audience. I'm hoping that next time we talk, we'll find larger representations of women in key decision-making kind of roles on the boards of key companies. We'll see them as well thriving as founders, as we always know them, in our ecosystems and closer ecosystems as we see them in many others globally, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Thank you, Kanchi.